Oh, yes.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're taking a look at the new Marvel Legends Armadillo Build-A-Figure wave, Shriek. Shriek is a character who has recently seen some mainstream attention because she appeared in the Venom sequel, Let There Be Carnage. Though this particular figure of Shriek is based off of her comic book persona, who is, believe it or not, a lot darker than the character seen on screen. She has a lot more interesting and pretty evil powers, and she's also just absolutely horrible and psychotic. As bad of a person as movie Shriek was, this one really takes the cake for just being an absolute psycho. That being said, if you've seen my videos before, you know this goes. We're going to take a look at Shriek's packaging, then we'll open it up, we'll get a look at Shriek, we'll see a quick little glimpse of her Build-A-Figure, which is a very, very massive chunk of Armadillo. And then we'll focus on Shriek, we'll see her posability, we'll check out her different accessories. Naturally, I'll be doing some group shots and comparisons today. And then at the end of the video, I'll give my final thoughts. So Shriek comes in your standard Marvel Legends packaging. She gets her Build-A-Figure call out up top. She gets the generic comic book Spider-Man logo here, showing an association with Spider-Man. And then you get her name. They call her Marvel Shriek because the name Shriek is just very generic, you know, copyright, all that fun stuff. Here in this main window, you get to see most of the Shriek figure herself. You get two extra sets of hands here, and then you get the part that takes up more space than the actual figure here, the torso section of Armadillo. It's absolutely massive, like Hulk massive. On the side, you get this very high contrast artwork of Shriek, making her look a little less inhuman than her actual figure does. They leave out a lot of the details, like on her face and everything. I'm not sure why they do that. On the back, we get more of a full body shot of the artwork. I mean, it's nice artwork, but it's weird that it differs in detail so much from the figure. I don't know why it's that way. Very strange. There's also what appears to be, I don't know, symbiote goop behind her, maybe? It almost looks like it's coming out of her, which, I mean, she's not really a symbiote in her normal form, so I don't know. Over here, you get her name and you get her flavor text. And this says, Frances Louise Barrison, aka Shriek, escapes from captivity and forms a twisted family with like-minded villains to terrorize Spider-Man. So Shriek was really a very big part of like the whole Maximum Carnage storyline. You know, her and Carnage break out of Ravencroft together, much like they do in the Venom sequel. But, you know, they also have, like, a little family they form because she's obsessed with the idea of, like, family and being a mom. So they take in, like, the Demogoblin, Carrion, and even the Doppelganger Spider, form, like, their little twisted family, wreak havoc. She gets, you know, busted in and out of Ravencroft a few times. Eventually, she sacrifices herself for Carnage, and he literally rips her spine out, so that's fun. Very twisted character. And down here, we get renders of the Armadillo Build-A-Figure, and there are cross-sells for the entire wave. So you got your integrated suit Spider-Man, black and gold suit Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, J. Jonah Jameson, Miles Morales, Morlun, and then finally Shriek. So this puts us at the end of the wave, which, you know what that means. The next associated review I do is going to be of this big guy, so that's pretty exciting. Alright, so the box is pretty nice. Again, the artwork's really good. I like it. It's just weird that it doesn't match her appearance here on the figure. So let's go ahead now and open this up. And now we can see the figure in hand. First, let's look at the Build-A-Figure. And this actually comes in two separate pieces, which is interesting. So you have the main torso area here, and then you have the, like, shoulder shell plating that just plugs in right here. So that's pretty interesting. So you just line up the peg with the hole here. Make sure the plates on the upper area overlap the lower area, like a real armadillo. There you go. That just kind of goes on there. Pretty cool looking, very beefy, very intimidating looking. Like, you know, much bigger than the Rintra BAF that I put together previously. Now, this is what I like to see with a Build-A-Figure, right? Something massive and cool. So you can see it's got a ball joint that doesn't seem to move. Like, there's not another ball joint inside. So there's just going to be a singular ball joint for the head, the sockets for the shoulders. You get a ball joint in the torso area, which lets them, you know, turn, roll around, all that. And then universal hips, which, you know, these will plug into the rest of the legs. So very impressive looking. Can't wait to review this guy. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's look at Shriek. So Shriek is also very cool looking, very lithe, and fairly simple, but she's got a lot of, I don't know, character. Her hair is really, really cool. It's extremely textured. It's very asymmetrical. She has these long earrings that hang down. They're like their own separate little bits too, right? They actually hang down. You can see her messed up eye from where she got shot, where she's all whited out, as opposed to her normal blue eye. She's got like the black kind of going up her chin there, around the cheeks. Very detailed and cool looking. Her body type, I think, is just like the generic spandex female body type for Legends. I know I've seen a lot of toys that look just like her. Her belt is actually a completely separate piece that just hangs loose. And I imagine they did it that way so they can just use the generic female body type without any new tooling. Just throw this cheap little belt on there. But it looks cool, and I like the way it just kind of sits and, moves around with her. She's got universal shoulders, which are nice. She's got a bicep swivel, double bend elbows, universal wrists. Her head is on a ball joint and does have the hinge, so she can look up and, well, really just down. She can't look up because of her hair. She actually has a pair of bracelets on this one wrist, which, like the belt, just kind of hang loosely, which is very realistic for big hoop bracelets like that. They don't like stay tight on your wrist. They just kind of stop right there where your hand flares out from your wrist. Very neat little detail. You just want to be very careful that when you're swapping hands, you don't lose these bracelets, because I can see them being very hard to find. Her torso has the same ball joint type setup that Armadillo has. However, she can't turn left to right very well. So she can mostly ab crunch and stuff, tilt around, and get a little bit of turning. That's about it. Sadly, there is no actual waist swivel here, so that's a shame. Her hips are universal, and they get quite a really good bit of range here, except for backwards, but that's the case for most of these. She's got a thigh swivel. She's got her double bend knees right there. And then she's got her ankle rocking. And now the rotation, or tilt, or whatever you want to call it, it's actually soft ratcheted on her, which is interesting. It's the first time I've seen that. So pretty cool overall. She makes for a really nice figure. Yeah, she's a little plain looking because she's all just black and white, but she's still very stylish at the same time. And the neat little details, just these little accessories like the belt and the bracelet, really help just give her a very stylistic edge. And I love the hands too. I like her like this. I don't even think I want to change anything about her. But for the sake of the review, let's look at her alternate hands. What's cool is that the right hands are painted to show off her asymmetrical look, where the black, comes down more on the right. So let's go ahead and carefully remove this hand without breaking any fingers or anything. We'll put one of the fisted hands here. Show that off. So she's got her fist. And on this one, you gotta be very wary of losing that bracelet. That can be a problem for some people, I'm sure. Look at that. Let's go ahead and just put a normal, semi-open, what I'd call weapon-wielding hand in here. Gotta get the bracelet over the wrist if we can. Get it. You gotta get everything to kind of line up. There we go. Alright, so these, I don't think they're as cool looking as the other ones, but it does give you some options if you want to give her, different poses. And I think she looks alright either way. Like I said, just a very stylish looking figure. It's funny, she actually kind of looks like one of the lost band members of Kiss, honestly. Here's a group shot of Shriek with the other comic book baddies that I've been able to accrue so far. So we have her wave mate that I just reviewed, Morloon. Then we have our Rintra Wave figure, Despair, who aesthetically is very similar to Shriek. And then we got this big old boy back here that was just part of his own thing, and that's obviously MODOK. Now, MODOK admittedly does stick out like a sore thumb here. He's a very, dark, creepy, yet very humanoid-looking villains. And then you just got MODOK with his big old noggin back there looking very cartoonish. So, bit of a clashing aesthetic. And this actually reminds me of something. So Shriek, you can see that she has a very distinct black and white color scheme. And apparently, that white on her face isn't makeup. That's apparently just the color of her skin, because she is a mutant. She's not called such in the new Venom movie, because Sony doesn't have the right to use, mutants in X-Men. But, per the comics, she is a mutant, like the X-Men. And I guess that explains her very different appearance. I'm not sure what the pale white skin has to do with her, sonic voice ability, or her more psychic abilities, but whatever, makes her look cool. Though I gotta say, she very much reminds me of Domino at the same time, because Domino in the comics has a very, very similar look. She's a mostly white character with like a black spot over one eye, and it's very similar to how Shriek's one eye looks right here with the little diamond design over it. So, yeah, I don't know. Not exactly sure why she looks the way she looks. I think she looks cool doing it, and I think there should definitely be some sort of crossover between her and Despair because, I mean, they look like they're made for each other. Though, given events in recent comics, well, she's very, very dead, so I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon. Maybe some alternate universe or something. But, you know, it's cool to see my little rogues gallery start to grow. It's very small right now. I do have some other villainous characters that I've yet to open, both MCU and comic-based, though I think at this point mostly comic-based that's left. So this is going to, you know, keep growing, and, you know, I'll be doing more group shots in the future and just see how much of a dastardly little gathering I can create there. And this completes our look at the new Marvel Legends Shriek. Overall, I do very much like the figure. She comes with a fair amount of accessories. She has 2 extra pairs of hands, which is more than most of the figures in this wave, sadly. And she does come with the largest Build-A-Figure piece out of the whole wave. It's a pretty massive chunk of toy that goes into the budget for, you know, the total package. So, you know, all that considered, plus, you know, a little bit of accessory she gets with the bracelets and the little belt right there, I'd say she's a pretty darn good value, and I really like her very sleek, stylish design. Now, I know that she uses basically just the standard, like, female leotard body type that many of the female characters for Legends use, and I get that, so the body type's really nothing special, but I do like the way the colors come together, and I think, like, the little just loose hanging jewelry really accentuates everything and gives the figure a lot of personality. Plus her really, really big hair, the long earrings that you can see hanging down while she turns around here, and I like her. Maybe the one thing that I don't like is, as cool looking as her hair is, it does very greatly hinder the head articulation. She can't do a lot of movement with that head because the hair is just all over her shoulders and it's not very flexible, so it just blocks her head from turning. So that's maybe my one gripe with this toy, but everything else about her I think is fantastic. She's very stable, as you can see. I have no problems posing her. She stands up very, very well, and I think she looks really good. And, you know, she's got me looking forward to, in the future here, collecting some more Venom or Carnage related characters, because when I was younger, Venom was like where it was at for me. I loved the character Venom. I loved everything associated with him. The Maximum Carnage storyline, the whole separation anxiety like video game, the many toy lines that came about where you had all the different symbiotes and all that stuff. Like, I am down for anything related to that. The Doppelganger Spider, which I used to have. I used to have an old action figure of Doppelganger. Not Legends, because this is, you know, early 90s, I think, when I had it, but, you know, still very, very cool. So she's got me pretty hyped for, you know, continuing to collect comic book-based characters, and I think she's a really fantastic figure on her own. Of course, that is just what I think of Shriek, so now I want to know what you all think of this toy. Do you like her as much as I do? Do you think she's a good example of, like, a really good female comic book character? Or do you dislike her for some reason? Maybe she's too simple, maybe you're tired of the standard body type, maybe you just don't like the design, maybe you think the black and white's kind of boring. Any and all feedback's always welcome in the comments section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to toss it a like. Let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. I thank you for joining me for this look at the new Marvel Legends Armadillo Build-A-Figure Wave, Shriek. And with all that said, I will see you next time.